Imagine this. You're driving, windows down, the volume's all the way up. You're listening to that kind of track that makes you turn the car into a full-on arena-style moment. Is it pop? Maybe. Is it hip-hop? What about pop rock, R&B, or dance? All in the realm of possibility. But what we do know is that it's a vibe, because the 808s are hitting, and it's got you wide open to receive whatever the music and the melody is delivering. Except this one, this track that you're listening to, this one is faith-fueled, or what we call a Jesus banger or bop. Now let me ask you something though. Where do you find that music? Where do you go to see who's up next? Where do you go to get the good curation and behind the scenes on making this music that you love? Where's that elevated conversation that celebrates the Jesus bangers and bops and shines a light on the musical messengers that deliver it? Well, nowhere. Until now. It's time to do something about it, right? So that's what we're doing. Welcome to Holy Hits Weekly. This is the definitive new Christian pop music podcast brought to you by Praisen. So what can you expect every week? Like, what are you listening to, right? You've got 1,000 podcasts, you're subscribed to 1 million YouTube channels. So what about us? What is Holy Hits Weekly going to deliver for you? Well, for me personally, this is more than just a show. I'm more than just a host. I'm a part of the community too. So I pledge to show up for you, to be curious for you, to dig deeper than the surface questions for you, to really talk about the music and the message from the artist's POV, not just quick sound bites. Not just a moment connected to the one thing that they're saying everywhere else on their journey talking about the songs. We want to celebrate and elevate the music and the musical messengers 24/7, 365. We love this music. We live this music. We want to explore everything about this music because it matters. Music that is faith-fueled gets you through your day from beginning to end. Yes, worship music does that, but Christian pop, for so many people, is everything, and it needs to hold space too. And that's what we're going to do. And Holy Hits Weekly is the place that you can expect that. You can expect the musical messengers to have a real stage, a place where music is taken seriously, because we believe Christian pop is a one-to-one to anything you're hearing on Kiss FM, or The Beat, or Power, or streaming on Spotify, Sirius, and iHeartRadio. Because the artists in this space, they deserve the same level of respect, the same level of recognition and celebration. And I know I say celebration a lot, get used to it. Celebrating and elevating, that's what we're doing all day long. Because Christian pop music can change hearts and minds and still be a banger and a vibe. It can be the gateway to people who are exploring their faith. It can be a unifier. It can be a hand grabber to reach people and pull them in a way that stuff happening on Sunday may not. So in a nutshell, that's what Holy Hits Weekly is here to do. A new podcast, the first of its kind, and we're building this thing from the ground up. Because if the music industry isn't going to give Christian pop music a seat at the table, we're going to build our own and make a little room. This is the official countdown of the biggest Christian pop record streaming. We'll be shining a spotlight on the fastest growing tracks and artists making an impact across social too. Uncovering every song, bubbling under and ready to make waves and have a musical moment. And of course, become the happy place. And I must emphasize this, the happy place, the joy place for the musical messengers, giving us all this praiseworthy goodness rolled into Jesus bangers and bops that you've got to get to streaming. And lastly, the most important part of this entire thing, you. This show is built for the community and by the community. We want you to let us know who you're listening to, who we should know if we don't know them, because it takes a village. And we know if you love this music as much as we do, you'll make sure that we've got it covered. At Holy Hits Weekly, we believe in a world where an artist can thrive in Christian pop music and not have to choose between being of the world or in it. It shouldn't have to be a choice if you're called to create Jesus music that you have to ignore it because you gotta eat. There is a huge audience out there. It's global and ready for this format to realize itself. We just needed a home for it, and now we have one. So what is Holy Hits Weekly? I want to make one thing clear right now. This isn't a playlist you just throw on in the background, especially those AI-generated playlists that have a ton of songs that never should be associated with a playlist dropping Jesus bops. but the artist's name is Christian, or the song title has love or something like that in it, so it gets placed there. I'm telling you, I see those on Spotify and Apple all the time, on every Friday, and I can't tell you how just frustrating it is that there's no real person actually intentionally curating these lists. And we're not just talking about some random, passionate person, yes, we need those people too, out there putting together a K-Love worship combo with a side of Lecrae or Halsey. At least 3 to 5 songs that clearly tell you the responsible party was some version of ChatGPT, because they just shouldn't be on those lists. So who are we if I'm saying that we're not that, right? Well, this is not your grandma's Christian music podcast. This ain't what you're gonna hear on K-Love. This ain't Air One or anything that you'll hear on Joy FM. Because this right here, this is energy. This is urgency. This is community. This is the music that represents a global audience of believers and seekers who are socially engaged and in the center of everything. Our goal is to become the definitive weekly Christian pop music series where we're celebrating the biggest and brightest tracks, making an impact in the format, where we uncover and discover what is now, new, and next. And it doesn't have to be label represented, because there are some people out there killing it just on their YouTube pages or on their TikToks or on their Instagrams, making music and building momentum in this movement, and they just need an opportunity and a platform and a central place where they're going to be focused on them. And that's what we're bringing to you with Holy Hits Weekly. Holy Hits Weekly isn't just a conversation about Christian pop music. It is the new conversation. Because Christian pop music isn't a side genre. It's not indie Jesus music. It's just not that. We're not in the 90s. We're not on the fringes. It's the format for the next generation of believers and seekers. And this right here, this podcast, this is where it gets its stage. Now you may be asking, why this? Why me? Why now? And let me just say, I didn't just wake up one day and decide to do this. I've spent my entire career in music, television, storytelling, and what I believe is culture shifting, sometimes table flipping entertainment. From MTV, VH1, BET, TV One, to the Food Network, Bravo, Travel Channel, and Discovery, I've helped launch moments. From building incredible TV shows, selling and developing countless series, working with almost every budget line on a show, from PA to EP. I've helped push the premium pop culture content conversation forward in music and lifestyle entertainment for more than a decade now. But man, oh man, let me tell you, the more my walk with God turned into a strut, I began to desire a deeper connection in how I consumed. Music that was Christ-centered, but with the vibes, the sonics, and production of the music that has always moved me. And that's what Christian pop music is to me. It's this massive, undeniable format that includes pop, pop rock, hip-hop, dance, and R&B. But it had nowhere to land. And that desire kept coming. And what started as a whisper became a roar. And I soon realized that this nudge was clear instruction from God to pivot from who I used to be to this new identity, an ambassador to this Christian pop music movement, the self-proclaimed Christian pop music evangelist, out here in these streets dropping John the Baptist speak on how dope the music is and how important it is for us to build in this space, to build this community, and to build a new lane for the Christian pop music format for whoever will listen. Like, it's time to have a real place for the legit curation and an elevated music conversation for Christian pop music. We need a central place where we can celebrate this incredible music format and its musical messengers. We need a central place for this community, a conversation that puts this format in its rightful position, front and center. You know, I hate to say it, but the mainstream Christian music industry still treats it like a niche, like it's indie music, even though millions of people are streaming billions of songs across Christian pop, hip-hop, pop rock, R&B, and dance every single day. It's never sat right with me. And our mission at Craving is all about filling this void. So I asked God to show me the best way to start this conversation so we can ignite this community and build something incredible for you, and for me too. Because it doesn't exist. And here we are. So why should you care? A big question, right? And honestly, I think you should care. I think you should care a lot, because this isn't just about the music. It's about culture. It's about representation. It's about the next generation knowing they have a home and a place they can engage, they can share, and they can call their own. If you've ever felt like faith and music lived in two separate spaces, if you've ever wished that the music you actually listen to got the respect it deserves, if you listen to Taylor, Beyonce, Bad Bunny, or Olivia Rodrigo on Saturday and unapologetically are in church or streaming it and praising out to Elevation, Maverick City Music, Lauren Daigle, and Torrin Wells on a Sunday, man, or any day of the week. Well, this is your community, and that's why we're here. And we're not waiting for validation. It's happening right now. And I promise you, coming from traditional music and entertainment, I wanted to wait until everything was lined up, locked, and loaded and perfect. But the time is now. No time for perfection or big rollout, as God delights in the small beginnings, and I've finally embraced that. So I apologize for how long it's taken me to get myself together so that we could do something awesome together. In every season, there's a soundtrack, there's a message, there's a musical moment, and we want to make sure you have it all in one place. So now that I've given you all that information, let me ask you a favor. This is what I'd like for you to do next. I'd like for you to subscribe and hit that follow button wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. I'd like for you to tap in and follow our socials on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Holy Hits Weekly, because the movement is here. The time is now, and this is your podcast too. That's really important. This is your podcast too. And the last thing I'll leave you with, I want you to remember this. This is a movement, and it's here. This is your community. This is your podcast. And whatever you think you thought you knew, is that even something to say? Whatever you think you thought you knew? Well, whatever you think you thought you knew, whatever you thought you knew about Christian Music Podcast, guess what? This ain't that. This is Holy Hits Weekly. And I can't wait to begin sharing all the music, the musical messengers, and just all this praiseworthy goodness with you.